and welcome back, dear learners. So next in line is the topic of management as an art, science or profession, that is nature of management. So let us have a quick overlook. So if you see on page number 12 of NCERT, this point has been covered as under the topic of nature of management. And if we talk about its very first nature, it is management as an art. So first of all, you need to remember that there are three types of nature of management that has been discussed in the book: art, science and profession. So you can make an acronym for this as SAP, management as a science, management as an art and management as a profession. So only from these three aspects you are going to be questioned, and it's a vast topic, students, but believe me, with an acronym, with just a small trick, you can crack the entire topic in just few minutes. So let us have a quick overview. If you have to prove that management as an art, you must remember the acronym APT. APT, with APT we mean that A standing for applications, P for practice and T is for theoretical framework. So all these points prove management to be an art. Remember students, whenever you form such type of acronyms, they have to be including your keywords. Even so that even if you write that particular word, you are given marks. So A for application, P for practice and T for theoretical framework. Now let us see how these points appear in NCERT in detail. So the very first point was personalized applications. See, the entire word is personalized application, because whenever there is an art, there has to be a creativity, and that creativity comes and differs from person to person. So this is what has been talked about in this particular point, that basic knowledge varies from individual to individual and it is very personalized application of a particular thing. Like example have been given, you must go through the examples as well so that you are clear with the topics to be included in that particular point. And generally it has been observed that from these examples only the case studies are formulated. So here they have talked about 2 speakers, 2 actors, 2 dancers, 2 writers. All these are applying the different forms of art in their own respective fields, and they are differing in the practice. So that has what been talked about when we say that management is all about personalized application. So this is A. We are talking about A for application, the very first point of APT. Then the second point that I am talking about is P for practice. So if we see this NCERT, it says that management is based on practice and creativity. So we can take the word practice, and again it means the same, that unique way, or there is always a different style of using the art in a creative manner. So when we go into details of this, it is said that a successful manager practices the art of management in day-to-day job on managing the enterprise based on the study, observation and experience. So on all this, the manager utilizes its skills, and it is said that management is a creativity or a type of practice. Now the third thing that has been talked about in this particular point is the theoretical aspect of management. T, saying that management is all about theoretical framework. It is having some basic principles as in any form of art, and respective areas have been derived on these basic principles which formulate certain theoretical knowledge. So remember students, whenever you are explaining management as an art, always keep APT in mind, A for application, that is personalized, P for practice and creativity, and T for theoretical framework. Moving on to the next topic, like we talked about SAP. So S was management as a science. So this is the second topic in the subtopic in this main topic of nature of management. So if we say how management is a science, you just have to remember again the three things, and that are use. For explaining management to be a science, just remember use. How U? U is basically universal validity. For this we are using U. S is for systematized body of knowledge, and E denotes the experimentations, principles based on experimentations. So always remember use depicting management as a science. Now let's see what exactly you are supposed to write from the NCERT. When we say U, universal validity, we are directly talking about pervasiveness, as we talked about one of the characteristics of management. So you have to say that universal validity and application, although it is not that universal because it is an inexact science. Later it has been talked that this management is an inexact science, and hence the universal validity is there, but applicability differs from situation to situation. Then S is for systematized body of knowledge, where you have to write that it is based on cause and effect relationship. This is the main word. There has to be a cause and its effect, as we see in the principles of science. So again, the examples are very important. Apple falling from the tree because of law of gravity. So this same type of cause and effect relationship exists in the field of management as well. When we say experimentation, it has said that developed through observation and then tested under the controlled conditions. But as you see, there is slight difference between that principles of science, the pure sciences, and the principles of management, because management totally depends upon the behavior of an ever-changing individual called humans. So human behavior changes as per the situations, and therefore the management principles as well change according to the situations. So there are a few more lines, students, which I am depicting here from NCERT that you are supposed to write whenever you get this question on management as a science. It is no doubt a systematized body of knowledge, theory and principles over a period of time. They have been developed, and last you have to write here is scientific management principles have been given by Taylor and Henry Fayol, on which we have another chapter, the second chapter of the book. So there are some principles, they are general principles which guides the managers. So we can say that it is a systematized body of knowledge, that is S. Then talking about the management principles, they have told that they are not exact, and there has to be not that modifications as per the situations, given situation. Every manager modifies the principles according to the needs that suits him or her the best in a given situation. So although there are principles, but there are generally applied principles, not fixed or rigid principles like that of pure sciences. That management principles are based on repeated experimentations and observations, but since it depends on human beings and their behavior, so these experiments are not capable of being accurately predicted or replicated. Same things cannot be repeated. So it's not an exact science, rather it is called an inexact science. So in your conclusion, you can always write this word as per the NCERT, that management is an inexact science. Now coming to the last topic of SAP. So this is basically P of SAP, management as profession. Now when you say management as profession, just remember a small word called perks, and it will cover all your 5 points under management as profession from NCERT. So let us have a quick look how perks look like. So when we talk about P, it is basically professional association, and professional association means it is affiliated to a professional body and there has to be some code of conduct, like lawyers are governed by bar council. Similarly, we see that managers are also governed by an institute that you might have heard about called IMA, All India Management Association. So first of all, P depicting professional association. Then E stands for ethical code of conduct. Like every profession has some code of conduct that guides the behaviors of its members. Similarly, this profession as well has some rules and regulations and the code of conduct. Then if we say, come to R, it is about restricted entry. In this profession there is restricted entry that depicts R. Restricted entry simply means that there have to be some qualifications to enter into this profession, and that basic qualifications you have to acquire to become the member, and thereby the entry is restricted to particular individuals. Then K stands for defined body of knowledge. As you can see, well defined body of knowledge. So from here letter K has been taken up. It has something that we can refer to because it's a whole body of knowledge. Then last is S. S denotes service motive. Like every other profession, the managers also have something to serve to the society in a dedicated and committed manner. So whenever you get the question on management as profession, you have to refer to a small word called perks depicting 5 of its sub-characteristics. So now students, let us see a few important questions pertaining to this topic of nature of management. So this question is saying to identify the characteristic of the profession that management does not fulfill. Here the word not is very important in the statement. So when we have talked about management and its as profession, we have talked about perks, as you remember. So we have to say in this what is not followed. Anyone can be called a manager, irrespective of educational qualification. It means somewhere they are trying to say that it has no restricted entry. The question is clearly talking about point number C, that there is no restricted entry and anyone can be a manager, which is not true. So therefore it violates the point number C. The next question, this is a case-based question, students. So I would advise you to read it from the last line first. Nature of management being highlighted. So again, this question is on the topic where science is taken, art is taken, and P, profession, SAP is there, and they have a point also with both science and art, A and C. So we have to identify the correct option. This is a 1 marker, and let me tell you students, this case study of Saheb Limited is the very first question in your sample question paper for year 2024-25. So the newly appointed production manager of Saheb Limited manufacturing toys, Mr. Ehrawat, noticed that the workers in the factory were not giving their best, as the physical conditions were not good. He conducted an experiment, this is the key word, experiment, to see the effect of improvement in the physical conditions in the factory on the performance of the workers. So he has tried to formulate a link between the physical conditions of the factory and the performance of the workers by providing ventilation and water facilities. He observed that fatigue level of the workers has ultimately reduced or gone down. So clearly you can say, students, that in the different points, this is something about experimentations and being conducted to observe the changes, the cause and effect relationships. So we can say that it is pointing towards none other nature than management as a science. Let us see the next question. And in this, it's a very straightforward question for 1 mark, where management is an art, a science, or both. So we clearly know that it is basically SAP. That means management is a science, is an art, as well as a profession. So none other than point number C, both a science and an art. To be precise, it is an inexact science and it is also an art. One more question on this topic. So this question says, which characteristic of management as science? So when the question is coming on science, you have to get the acronyms of science, where we have discussed that under management as science, you have to remember just 3 letters called U's. So let us see which is working on this. Management has its own vocabulary of terms and conditions. Vocabulary is the key word here. Managers need to communicate with one another using a common vocabulary for better understanding of their work situation. Now we have to identify the characteristic. So amongst U's we have to choose one. U is universal applicability, validity, which is not talked about here. S stands for systematized body of knowledge, which definitely includes some common vocabulary. And E is for experimentation, again that has not been talked about. And the point number 4 is personalized application, which is actually relating the management nature to an art. So this is not the point of science, it is an art. So clearly we can get our answer using this acronym, simple word use, where it shows that it is a systematized body of knowledge, including some common vocabulary, some jargons and technical terms to make the understanding clear. Thank you.